now be recorded.
First order of business will be Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the Republic
of the United States of America, one nation under God,
indivisible, and justice for all. Okay. Next order of business then is consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve same?
so move.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, stands voted unanimously. Since there were no items removed, we'll go on to item number 4. Discussion and action, director's report. Is there a motion to approve the director's report?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, are there any questions for the director with regard to the report?
Mr. Chairman, a moment of your indulgence, please.
If you please.
If all of you would go to page 4-3, page 3 of the director's report, there's a typographic error there I'd like to correct.
Go ahead.
If you go down the page, you'll see a sort of a subparagraph heading underlined water division metrics.
Yep.
First line in that, the word June should be replaced with October. And at the end of that line, the word September should be replaced with October. And it is with those corrections I'd like to have the report considered.
Okay. Gentlemen, any questions of the director or either general manager?
I do not have any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I have one. Actually, I have two. Neil, this is with regard to page 4-101. The break in the North Colony Road pipe, it's only a 14-year-old piece of ductile iron. Any particular mitigating circumstances that that might have caused that? Your mouth, we can see that your mouth is moving, but we're not hearing you.
Hold on, I got the mute button. So it was along the 10-inch water main along North Colony. What it actually was a 10-inch gate valve that was leaking.
Okay.
Because it was on the main line, that's how we classified it.
Okay. Going out to the water treatment plant, squared away at this point with regard to the tank, the new tank and the connections to the plant.
Okay. The new fuel tank?
Yeah, this would be the new fuel storage tank. Because I know it appeared from this, it appeared that it was not operational, quote unquote. That was the end of October.
So it actually just became operational late last week. So we have resolved that. So right now we are feeding it off the 10,000 gallon fuel tank, but we are still waiting for the emergency backup belly tank to be delivered. We needed a new size to fit into the space, but no, we do have heat right now at Pistapog.
Okay. Okay. Joel, you have anything or?
I don't have any questions, Mr. Chairman, but I did want to make one comment, or maybe a comment that could encourage a reaction from Tony or Rick. I look at the spot market prices, both for gas and the off-peak, the resultant electric prices are just so low right now. We all enjoyed the low pricing, but my comment is I just don't think it's sustainable. I think this is something we should enjoy while it's low, but I don't see how these prices can stay the way they are. Gas prices, you've got, I think these are on Henry Hub, but they're spot market gas prices at $1.05 and $2.35. I mean, that would have been unheard of just a little while ago. And the same thing with electric pricing at $24.80 for a megawatt hour with a off peak at $16.67. It's good news for our customers right now, but this is something we should keep a careful eye on and potentially even prepare for some kind of a increase in energy pricing, both due to either natural gas constraints, natural gas pricing, and or just changes in the electric market. And I don't know,
Well,
Tony
Joe-
and Rick, if you've got any reaction to that, if this is something you've been watching, or maybe you disagree with, that you think this has a
No,
long-term
Joe,
future.
and I can't speak for Tony, but I'll be honest, I don't watch the dailies that much because we're so well hedged.
Yeah,
You know, the daily prices only affects our unhedged portion, which is small. It's nice that part comes in then inexpensively, but that's why we hedge, because one doesn't, if we knew what the market would be, we would have waited and not hedged and just enjoyed buying it all at these bargain basement prices. But
well, in some ways, our hedging reflects these prices. I mean, the administrator of these hedge funds, I mean, they project what these prices are. They're very low. We were getting very good hedge prices. So
Well,
while
again-
we'll build a damper of a year or two or three, but I don't see this low cost trend surviving.
well, you're probably right. But only time will tell there. And I don't disagree, but that's why we watch the forward curves and why the hedging policy requires us to, have at least so much hedge per given time, so many months out.
Right.
Okay, if there are no other comments, then I would call for a vote on the approval of the report. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Stands voted unanimously. Next order of business then is report on the upgrades of the water pollution control facility. Neil, you're on.
Thank you. So the Public Utilities Commission was emailed this earlier today, and we will just walk through where we stand with the building and facility construction first. So the former intermediate pump station demolition is 100% complete at this time. And again, we had to build the new intermediate pump station to make way for the two new secondary settling tanks, tanks number 5 and 6, which will be located in the footprint of the former IPS. Tertiary phosphorus building, the concrete roof slab and beams have been formed and poured. The contractor is currently removing the formwork and the support system. And actually was at the site today, and they are actually bringing a lot of that formwork and support system into the excavation for the secondary pump station. So the water testing of the concrete tanks for the active flow tertiary phosphorus treatment system is complete, and both tanks passed. The reason we have two tanks is, don't forget, we have two treatment trains. So we actually have an A train and a B train for the active flow phosphorus treatment system. And the contractor began installation of the duct bank between the primary switchgear in the personnel building, and one portion goes to the new tertiary phosphorus building, and the other portion goes to the UV post-aeration building. So moving on to the UV disinfection and the post-aeration building. So the exterior brickwork is complete for that building, and that was the goal of the contractor, to complete the brickwork before the cold winter months. And the contractor is forming the concrete equipment pads in the UV building for the electrical gear, as well as for the post-aeration blowers. So we move over to the emergency generator building. So the 10,000 gallon fuel above ground storage tank, as well as the emergency generator, were delivered on the same day within the last 2 or 3 weeks there. And then the contractor has begun the block work for the emergency generator. So the emergency generator, again, will be a block and brick building. If you are on the site right now, you can see we have constructed a plywood shed over the emergency generator. So that is to protect the emergency generator during construction of the building around it. And as I mentioned before, we can pull the emergency generator out of the building if we have to. It's just easier at this point to place it first and then build the building around it. When we look at the secondary pump station, which is in the middle of the site right now, is the excavation has been completed, including all the the sheeting and the reinforcement. The entire base slab has been formed and the reinforcing steel has been placed. And currently the contractor is placing the concrete for the various sections. Just as a reference, you can kind of get a gauge of how tall the tertiary phosphorus building is from the drone photograph I sent you. The secondary pump station will be nearly as tall as well. So another substantial building at the site. Along Main Street, and that is the interior roadway between the secondary pumps, between the secondary settling tanks and the rotating biological contactors. The electrical subcontractor continues to work on the permanent electrical duct bank, and we currently are about 75% complete with that. So any questions on the buildings or the facilities before we jump into the financials and the schedule?
This is Patrick, just like a comment. It just seems like we were there yesterday, but looking at the drone picture, it's fascinating to me how much work has been accomplished in the few short weeks since we were there last. I mean, these guys are busy, and things are. I could visualize just what has occurred since the last time we were there, based on this drone picture.
There is a lot of activity on a daily basis. It is a well-staffed site, and you say that, Patrick, but the next 12 to 14 weeks, 12 to 14 months, everyone is really looking at the schedule at this point. We feel good about the schedule, but it definitely will be a race to finish. Because even once we finish the buildings, you have to put all the equipment, the electrical, the wiring inside the building. So thank you. Okay, moving on to page 2, for those of you that have the handout, we can see that the net change by change orders did move to a positive as of October 15th. I had alluded to that at the last PUC meeting. So at this point, approximately 15 months into the schedule, our net change orders are less than 1/10 of 1%. A good rule of thumb at the end of the project for what's considered a good project, a successful project, is change orders less than or equal to 5%. And now don't forget, in the $60 million bid bond package that was passed by the town council, we did include contingency in there. And DEP is actually looking for you to have 4 or 5% in your bond package for change orders. So right now, less than 1% through the first 15 months of construction. Joel had sent me a question on a couple, what are the net change orders to date? So we've issued 5 change orders, and I'll take a couple minutes to explain how we get to the change orders. So we basically have potential change orders or prime contractor change order requests, PCCORs. They go through a review between AECOM, our design and construction administrator, as well as the town. And then we generally lump multiple PCOs into one change order before we submit it to DEP. So change orders sometimes may have one large item, but they may have multiple smaller items. And this works because, basically gets into the clean water funding. There's a lot of financial paperwork. DEP would rather lump them together than have repetitive change orders coming. And don't forget, so each change order, we actually do get our grant percentage of 37.8102 towards that. So just a couple of highlights of the change orders to date. We changed our railings around the project to mechanically fastened rails, and that was a suggestion by C.H. Nickerson, and that was a credit of $49,620. Again, a value engineering suggestion made by C.H. Nickerson in the beginning was to change some of the slide gates to stainless steel slide gates. That was a credit of $110,000. Change order number 3, we ended up finding a buried pump station foundation back from the pre-40s and 50s. And then for American Iron and Steel, we had to buy some specialty duplex basket strainers. That was a positive change order of $42,525. Change order number 4, this was, we are still unsure where DEP is going to go with our future aluminum effluent limit. So we changed from a 10-lamp UV system to a 12-lamp UV system. Now, after that change order was issued, you may remember that DEP has now backed off the future aluminum limit. We still like issuing this change order now because we've made accommodations for the UV system before it gets installed. We've made accommodations for the electrical before it gets installed. We're looking for this plant 20, 25, 30 years. We'd rather pay for it now, get the grant percentage, than be faced with a larger change later. So that was a positive change order of $68,662. And change order number 5 was multiple smaller change orders. Let me just grab my notes. And so the large item for change order number 5, what we affectionately call the golden manhole. And so that was a storm drainage manhole that is to the east side of the anaerobic basin. So it is between the Parshall Flume and the anaerobic basin. And that had to be moved. What happened was it looked good on the design drawing, but constructability, we couldn't keep it where it was. So that alone was $67,823. We had some other various change orders associated with change order number 5. And so the value of that was $75,890.00. So all told, our change orders to date, as you can see on your summary, is $28,457.86, or 0.0625% against our base contract of $45.507 million. And again, that is the financials. And then looking at the schedule, it remains unchanged at February 10, 2022. So we are still on track, but the next 14 months will certainly be very, very busy for everyone. So, and also, let me just add a caveat to the change orders as well, is, you know, and C.H. Nickerson has been great to work with, but as the client and as the owner, we tend to get the cost change orders first, while the credit change orders tend to lag. That's typical. We do remind C.H. Nickerson, you know, we are still waiting for a couple credits out there as well. But part of it is especially if a subcontractor or a material supplier is involved, they can't bill C.H. Nickerson until the change order is actually approved by DEEP. So those cost change orders tend to move faster than the credit change orders. And that's typical. But we do have some credits. We do have some credits out there. You know, and we will just continue to work with Nickerson and AECom and negotiate as they come along. But I think the change, as we've talked about from the very beginning, change orders to date are really underground structures that we didn't know were there. We've run into a couple of buried foundations, electrical, or as well as really constructability issues. We really haven't had too many design errors or omissions. A few minor things here and there, but we've been able to work them through.
Given the compressed nature of, or compressed timeline that we had for design, I think that speaks very well for the architects, engineers, et cetera, as well as your staff, for making sure that the design was as tight as it has, you know, as it has been, Neil. You know, to see this amount of change orders at this stage of the construction is quite good. I mean, you're talking less than 1% at this point. That's not too shabby a year and a quarter in. So I commend you.
I just hope I don't jinx myself or the team tonight.
My thoughts exactly, Neil, but Mr. Chairman, thank you for that, and I share that sentiment. It does reflect very favorably on AECom and water sewer technical staff.
Yeah, Neil, thanks very much for providing this. And I very much agree, per my comment to you earlier, that you've held the line extremely well, given the large nature, the significant cost of this project. The change orders are really, I mean, virtually insignificant compared to the cost of the project. And it's also good to see that there was a number of change orders that were positive. It wasn't all just add money onto the project. So we've had some significant savings, as well as some that are justifiably over. So good job. And please keep consuming the coffee, the vitamins, and staying on the job, because we know we're a long way from completion.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else on this, we will move then to the public question and answer period. Are there any questions from the public?
Mr. Chairman, before we do, while we're still on item 5, Neil wanted to talk with you gentlemen about a tentative schedule for your next walkthrough. He's got some scheduling and some logistics concerns he wanted to discuss and air with you while we had everybody together.
Okay. Neil, you're on.
Thank you. So, traditionally we have done the quarterly site tours before the Public Utility Commission meetings. One, it is now dark at 4 p.m. Two, we have gone virtual. So what I can do, and we don't need to decide tonight, is we could do it during the day. I would also be open to meeting on a Saturday or even a Sunday. Given that, I will tell you my preference would really be for a weekend, simply just because if we went during the day at this point, it is such an active construction site. It will be difficult to see and hear, and just the safety concerns just go up a bit, especially moving a crowd around. So I'm just going to put it out there. Traditionally, the next tour would be the first or second week in December. Again, we don't need to decide tonight. Can send out an email with a couple dates, but we could do it during the day. I'm open to that. My preference would be to get together maybe, on a Saturday or a Sunday, just because it would be easier to see things. And again, you've heard me say this before, once we pick a date, I'm a civil engineer. It's rain or shine. There's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing.
What time does the construction crew knock off? I mean, do they pretty much work till 3:30, or do they work till dark?
Yeah,
At
3:30. They're there right now between 6:30 and 3:30.
3:30.
It's dark around 4:15.
Would it be difficult, or would it be challenging to have something, say, at 4 o'clock after the crew leaves, before it gets dark on a
It would
weekday?
be, on a weekday, my concern would be is that it really gets dark around 4:30, 4:45. We really start to lose sight lines. And don't forget, we have taken out all the light poles at the wastewater treatment plant because during construction, they are just targets. So we don't have a lot of aerial lighting at the treatment plant right now.
Okay.
Yeah, Neil's
Okay.
point.
We'll circle
I would
back.
Note that this day and age, sunset is around 4:30 or slightly earlier these days.
And it's only going to get a little bit worse before it starts to get better. So,
Yeah.
yeah, give us some dates, and it's what you think of, Neil, and take it from there.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Okay, very good. All right.
Thank you, Neil.
With that in mind, then I then think unless there's something else here under this item, then I'll go to the public question and answer period. Are there any questions from the public this year?
Yes, if I
Yes,
may.
Lonnie.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. This is Adelaide Kopfer, 35 Wallingford Tree Road. I have two questions tonight. Number one, if there is already an update on the possible green rate that you were talking about. I think it was October 6th meeting. When I asked about it, and Mr. Hendershot had recommended looking into renewable energy credits. Has that process been started yet, or any investigation been started yet?
Background work has begun. Discussions are underway with our wholesale power supply consultant and agent. Those are separate firms, but no, nothing that I'm ready to present to the PUC yet.
Okay, but I'm very glad to hear that it's been started. Thank you. And the other question would be, as sad as it is that we have to, but in a way, I think I'm happy that we are back in a virtual meeting because it's so much easier for the public to participate and to view the recording. And I would like to ask one more time, the Public Utility Commission, I've been emailing with Mr. Hendershot back and forth, but I would like to ask here in public, just like the video recording is posted on the government TV channel, would it be possible to also post the audio recording of in-person meetings if there is no video recording? Just because, you know, there were cases when either for an oversight or because another meeting was canceled, the written minutes are on the website only like 4 or 5 weeks after the meeting, and that is really late for interested public. So I was wondering if there's any chance that an audio recording could be posted just like the videos are.
With regard to that, I believe Mr. Hendershot did send an email out to you with regard to that, if I'm not mistaken, and I may be in error on that.
No, you are correct. So then my question would be, why does the PUC not want to do that? Can you clarify for me why? Because for me it's hard to understand. The video can be posted, but the audio cannot.
Well, if the video is going out from a virtual meeting, I don't see what the issue is as to why there also needs to be the audio.
No, not the same meeting. The video goes out if there was a virtual meeting. But if there's an in-person meeting, like for instance the October one has been, can the audio of that meeting go out to the public? So that we don't have to wait up to 5 weeks, 4 minutes just to know what's been happening.
Patrick, I think you're trying to speak, but you're apparently muted. We're still not hearing you. Patrick, it's not working.
You cannot hear me?
Now we
Yes,
can.
now we can.
Okay, I had a question. On the issue of posting an audio, what exactly, when you say posting an audio, where exactly would it be posted?
So the videos of a virtual meeting like this one are on a YouTube channel. There's a link on the town website under minutes or agenda. There's a link to the YouTube channel for government, Wallingford Government TV, I think that's the official name. And so everybody who goes on the website and finds that link can watch the entire meeting as a video. And I'm asking, can an audio recording, which is done anyway for in-person meetings, also be posted on that channel with a link on the website so I could access that within the next few days instead of waiting 5 weeks?
Okay, thank you. That's kind of Mr. Chairman, to you, that sounds like a two-step process. It sounds like us making an audio available to Scott Hanley or the television folks to post it, and then the second is their ability, their funding, their bandwidth to post the audio meeting. But I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be in a position to post or to provide whomever with a copy, Scott Hanley or the town clerk or whoever, a copy of our audio. Why couldn't we do that?
If I may, when I emailed Mr. Hendershot back and forth, he just asking how the process would be if I wanted to listen to the audio recording. And he suggested either I come down to the office and listen there, which with all due respect, I think is not a very productive way for either staff who would supervise me or myself. Or option B, that for each recording I would like to listen to, I would need to bring a new still wrapped flash drive to get a copy of that audio recording. To my knowledge, an audio recording is done anyway, so that the secretary clerk, I'm sorry, I don't know the exact title, can write up the minutes. So there is an audio recording, a digital file, and I'm just asking if that file could be made accessible to the public the same way the video recordings are.
Okay. In order to do that, Rick, I know that it can be done, that Scott can do this, certainly. If we were to consider doing it, what extra would we have to do to be able to do it?
We'd provide Scott with a copy of the digital recording, and it's my understanding then he would, in essence, create the content. He would generate a screen of sorts.
Correct.
It might just be text, and the audio file would then play along with, in conjunction with this still screen.
Yeah, it'd be a background screen or
So there'd
wallpaper,
be
whatever.
no activity going on, to the extent that context, audio going with video was helpful or useful or maybe even necessary, depending on the exact words that were being spoken. That would not exist.
Gentlemen, any comments? Either of you would like to make with regard to it?
I don't have a problem with making the audio available. I mean, it is what it is. It'll be unedited, and it'll reflect what went on at the meeting. My concern is I wasn't aware that we were making digital recordings. I thought they were analog on tape, and I don't know what the process is to take that tape and turn it into something that can be posted. So if it's an easy chore to simply take the audio, put it into a digital file and post it, I'm fine with it.
Joel, it turns out that the recorders, like when we meet in person, the little devices that record the meeting are digital recorders.
Then, I thought those were tapes. So if those were digital, I don't have a problem with it. As long as the public, the users are very much aware that they're unedited and without any edits or changes.
This is Patrick Burney again. No objection to making the tapes available to Mr. Hanley. I just don't know that once it's produced to him. I'm not sure what his availability or ability is to post it on a website on a YouTube channel. But I have no objection to providing our tapes, our audio tapes to Mr. Hanley.
What we can do, I suppose, is we can send up a copy to, as an example, the next meeting that we do, see what, or if, Rick, we should have copies of some of the previous meetings, no?
No, once the minutes are created, the audio file doesn't exist any longer.
Okay, that's,
The minutes are the record of the minutes are the record of the meeting. The audio file is merely a tool to get to that point.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because my thought was just to make sure that the quality of the audio is good enough for what his purposes are. That's all.
That's a fair point. Tonight
that's something we're not going to know until such time as we have something that can be utilized, which truthfully, it could probably be sent up after, even though we've got the virtual meeting here today with both the audio and the video. It's still being recorded digitally on little recorders.
But the format's different. I don't know
go
how
ahead,
accessible
quality, see if the quality is such that he feels that it is worth trying to put it on there. And if the quality is not good enough for that then gets to be a whole other issue.
Yeah, that's a fair
But
point.
that's what I would try that. I would try that with it. I would try that this time around just to see what Scott's feelings are with regard to it. If he thinks it'll work, well, that's something we can do. Is I'm not looking to necessarily have to do any more than what, in some respects, than what we are doing already. But I mean, when I say that in terms of work effort by you, your staff, et cetera. But if we can provide that and the quality is there, I don't have a problem with it either necessarily.
The beta test, if you will, that you're suggesting would really take place the next time we have an in-person meeting. Because
yeah, but we can
this
still,
meeting now is being recorded by.
Yeah, but the point I'm making, it could still be done. We could take a copy of the digital file that from this meeting, shoot it up to him to see how that comes out. That's what I'm saying, before the next in-person meeting. So that we'll know where we're at.
This meeting's being recorded and will end up on the YouTube channel.
I understand that, but that is as far as the video is concerned. The secretary is still, Bernadette is still recording this on a digital basis. Am I not correct? It's the only way she can to be able to go ahead and.
True.
Excuse me?
Yeah, no, you're right, but it's different than the in-person version because it's all coming over a speaker of either her computer or her phone at home.
Correct.
There
is a difference.
Bob, I take that back. She will use the YouTube channel to produce the minutes.
Okay, very good. I'll forget that one.
I
was
forgot
just
about
thinking
that. Thank you.
we could be sure we were all set or not, as the case may be. Okay. Well, okay. Are there any other questions from the public at this point? Hearing none, I will declare the public question and answer period closed. Next order of business, if the electric and water staff want to bid us a good night, you're welcome to leave. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And other than that, we'll move on to the PUC item number 6, discussion and potential action on meeting schedule for 2021. Firstly, any comments that, Rick, you want to make with regard to that to begin with, and then I'll go to the commission.
Well, it really is this is provided to give you gentlemen an opportunity to discuss this and possibly decide. A draft schedule's been prepared. It notes the location as the electric division. That may or may not be feasible. I suspect early in the year it won't be, given the realities of the pandemic. And but there's no way to know when that won't be an issue. And meeting in person like we did in what now seem like the good old days becomes both safe and prudent.
Okay.
Now, this schedule, and we've learned through this that an initial location can be noted and can be changed merely by noting it on the agenda for each meeting as they occur.
And we need to post a schedule in any event. And
Yes,
I believe we have to do that by sometime in December, if I'm not mistaken. So,
I think it's before the end of the year. I would swear to that, but I think that's what it is.
I believe you're correct. All right, gentlemen, any comments, questions?
Mr. Chairman, the dates are fine with me, and I think per your comments by you and Rick, why wouldn't we want to note that on the memo, on the memorandum at the bottom? We've got it very clear. The meetings to be held 6:30 at Town of Wallingford Electric Division at 100 John Street. Why don't we just add a boxcar to that to suggest, or at another public location to be announced within 24 hours or virtually with sign-in information to be provided. I mean, is there a reason why we wouldn't just say that there's some options here that we'll be using and disclosing in advance of the meeting?
Joel, I'm no expert on the rules. I think it might be FOI related, but there are rules about this. Kathy knows them in and out, but unfortunately she's not here. I don't know that I can add your suggested language at the end there.
Okay, so you're suggesting that we have to have a hard location and that meets FOI.
I think we have to
Unless
announce on the schedule where we plan to meet. Now, we can change those meetings as time progresses, but I think for the purposes of the schedule, we have to establish a meeting location.
which we then can change within 24 hours with notice.
I think it can change as long as the posting of the agenda, which is controlled by some rules or regulations, is done on time.
Okay.
Okay. Patrick, any comments?
No, I mean, look, I concur with Joel's views and point. I think it would make great sense. If for some reason FOIA doesn't permit that, that's unfortunate. But look, everything is in flux, and reflecting that in this notice, I think makes a lot of sense. And I'll be honest with you, as I'm listening to Rick and FOIA, I mean, having a lot of these the rules in terms of the meetings been modified by Governor Lamont's orders, and maybe instead of defaulting to FOIA, which I think is natural and is okay, maybe we should see what the orders say we can and can't do, because I'm going to lean toward Joel's position. The more disclosure and flexibility, the better. I'm okay with the dates.
Thank you, Patrick. The dates are the first and third Tuesdays, except for November 3, which is a Wednesday, as it always is, that first one in November. I'm going to suggest the following language at the end of that sentence at the bottom. Or another location or virtually, depending on circumstances and the need of the PUC. I guess the needs of the PUC. And
I'm fine with that, Rick, and I would add something, very consistent with our requirements, and that is that the location, the time, location, and format, will be announced within 24 hours and available on the website.
Normally, it would be announced, I think, greater than that, Joel, but because the agenda normally would come out Thursday or Friday of the week before. So in other words, if we have a meeting on Tuesday, then it's either 4 or 5 days earlier is when it would be announced at the time the agenda comes out. I think it's probably the better way to put it. And
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that as long as somebody could read this and know it's either going to be held in one location or they'll find out through some other means in time.
yes, that's a good point. I've added a sentence that I can't complete, but what I've started with is any changes in meeting time or location will be announced / provided by ... Kathy and I can work on that wording.
Okay.
Yeah, and just put in the statutory or regulatory requirement, and if we do better than that, fine. I mean, if it's a week, put in a week. If it's 24 hours, but put in the required time.
I wouldn't want you gentlemen to make a motion on and vote on something that isn't finished or right. So maybe this is something to table. The point of putting this
inasmuch
there
as
was
there
to
hasn't been a
generate
motion
this
on what
discussion.
we can, yeah, I was gonna say, inasmuch as there hasn't been a motion made on this to begin with, it doesn't have to be tabled. It just be, there can be no action taken and it can be brought back up at the next meeting.
Fair point.
That's what I would recommend based on the discussion that, you know, the four of us have been having here. So we just go ahead, discuss it with Kathy, make sure that, you know, that we're squared away on what we need with respect to FOI to make sure we are in compliance therewith, and then just bring it up at our first meeting in December.
I'm good with that.
Okay. Is
Agreed.
there anything else then to be brought before this body at this point?
Not by me, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. In that case, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned. Very happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Hopefully you can get together as you would like to, or, you know, and everything go well for everybody. Good health, etc. Okay.
Same to both of
Thank
you
you,
and
Mr.
Rick.
Chairman, to all
Thank
of
you.
you as well.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care now.
Good night.
And Tony, thanks for running the meeting.